My name is Natasha Jones. I am the CEO of HD Screening and Laboratory. What we do at HD Screening and Laboratory is we provide workforce wellness and compliance initiatives for the supply chain industry, which concludes physicals, drug testing. We have corporate wellness programs. In addition to that, I am the director of mental health and wellness at the African American Women Trucking Association, where we are also petitioning healthcare initiatives into the community, specifically for African American women in the trucking industry and non-binary women. My guest today is a seasoned certified anesthesiologist assistant with over 15 years of experience, who leads a transformative wave in clinical sleep health as the visionary behind Prosomnia Sleep. With a strong foundation in cellular biology and molecular genetics from the University of Maryland, and she has a master's in health science from Nova Southeastern University. Nairi combines her extensive expertise in critical care, emergency medicine, and anesthesia to reshape sleep therapy. As an active member of prestigious organizations like American Academy of Sleep Medicine, she continually advances her field through thought leadership and innovative solutions, redefining quality sleep for global wellness. In light of the National Sleep Foundation's Drowsy Driving Prevention Week, it is my pleasure to have with us tonight Nairi Penn.
Thank you so much. That sounds great. Okay, thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here with you. As the founder and CEO of Prosomnia Sleep Health and Wellness, we definitely want to provide comprehensive sleep health and wellness services. And that is exclusively all we do, just sleep health and wellness services. What we prioritize is safety, health, and well-being for professional drivers and anyone we serve. But definitely our main focus is to help people with their sleep disorders and sleep disparities.
That's awesome. So before we get into the meat and potatoes of the questions, I want to know, and I'm pretty sure the audience wants to know, what is a certified anesthesiologist assistant and how did you get into the sleep medicine arena?
Yeah, okay. So yes, a certified, I've been doing that for 15 years. So essentially, if anyone is familiar with having surgery, you go in, you see an anesthesiologist. The anesthesiologist, you know your heart, your lungs, everything good, your past history, all that. However, during the procedure, an anesthesia provider has to be in the surgical suite with you. And so we are a comprehensive anesthesia care team, and we work together to provide your anesthesia services. So we work under the license of an anesthesiologist. So when the anesthesiologist comes and sees you, they ask questions. We are an anesthesiologist assistant or certified registered nurse anesthetist. That's another profession that we parallel. So we are the ones that are actually in surgery with you throughout your procedure. So doing this for many years, I absolutely love my job. So grateful to have landed in. At no point did I ever wake up and say, I want to open a sleep center. Okay, that's definitely not how it happened. But just being in anesthesia, I noticed that there was a particular type of surgery and procedures we would do where our patients would wake up and be like, oh my God, this is the best sleep I've ever had. No problem. In anesthesia, it's known fact. Until one day I had a patient actually wait for me after work. Again, this happens all the time in anesthesia. I just want to make that clear. We always have patients wake up, oh my God, best sleep I've ever had. Da, da, da. Okay. So I have this patient and they come and they waited for me after their procedure. It was an outpatient surgery center. He could wait for me. Yeah, okay. But the reality of it was he approached me. He said, I do try to make my patients feel comfortable. He said, I really felt comfortable. Talking to me. He's like, I have not slept like that in years. Would you please come to my house? And okay, again,
girl,
right. Did not go. However, it was enough to make me be like, what is happening? Like how desperate to rest do you have to be to wait for somebody in the parking lot, ask them to come to your home, do something illegal and pay you a nice fat check? Like,
right.
You know what I mean? So it was kind of that just kind of ignited the match. At no point did I ever in a million years And just way before COVID, I started researching in anesthesia, like I said, but it wasn't until I realized that there is an actual therapy that we use in anesthesia that could legitimately help people with their sleep problems. And it just would not be the human thing to do for me to at least not try to bring this to market. It is unique. It is novel. It is a 1-hour anesthesia sleep therapy that we do provide. However, after the sleep session, they're fully restored, rejuvenated, awake. All of that sleep is like gone. We can clinically show how we can give a full night's rest back in 1 hour, but we have to do that with anesthesia. And so that's the protocol that I developed. So what we're doing is not illegal. It's just like Ozempic. Like, we're just the off-label use of a drug. Instead of using anesthesia to take an organ out of your body or to have a colonoscopy, I'm just saying now we can also use it to put people into REM sleep. And so for the past 2 years, that's what I've been doing, developing the protocol, getting patients in, and just really bringing this to market to let it be a solid therapy for people with sleep disorders. So I'm super excited about that. And so, like I said, it evolved into a clinic where we also now have people who have sleep apnea. So it's not just, everybody doesn't want anesthesia to go to sleep. That's not necessarily their issue. It's, they don't have a problem resting. They don't have the time to sleep, like our truck drivers. So that's kind of how we realize that sleep apnea and drowsy driving is huge. Especially.
Okay. So sleep apnea, right? I'm a registered nurse. I work in the ICU, I work in the ER, trauma, I do all the things, right? So when I hear sleep apnea, I think of a whole bunch of different things. But for the layman, right? What is sleep apnea, first of all? And how do we know that this is what we have versus any other sleep disorder?
Very good question, Natasha. A lot of people don't really, your sleep, how would you know that you stop breathing in that? Unless you have a sleep partner who obviously is not sleeping because you're waking them up. So a lot of people don't know. So according to the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Association, sleep apnea is a breathing related disorder, specifically where it causes brief interruptions of breathing during sleep. And usually the brief interruptions last about 10 seconds or more. And what happens is when your body stops breathing, naturally the oxygen levels in your body drop. And that's how we're able to, decipher during our home sleep test that somebody's having an issue. But let me back up. Like you said, symptoms of sleep apnea usually are loud snoring, right? Somebody's like, your sleep partner is kindly telling you. And there's like sleep, people are like ashamed. There's sleep shame going around in society. They're ashamed to tell people that. Or, the pretty girl snore. That's a real thing. Okay. Hashtag pretty girls. That's coming. Okay.
Okay. I know that's right.
You know what I'm saying? That, and it's like, okay, but let's stop. Oh my God, you're waking me up. Da, da, da. It's what's going on. What's happening? Like, let's address that. And so may I give you an actual example of like a person? Okay, so let me see if I can share this for you, just to give you an actual example of what it's like for someone to, have sleep apnea at night. Let's start this one. You could probably hear it, but I didn't share it. Okay. I'm sorry. I apologize. Here, I can do a better job of this here.
No worries.
Okay, here we go. Okay. Can you see that?
Yes.
Okay. This is an actual example of sleep apnea. Is your man suffering from menopause? Call bro, tell me to sleep. We're home sleep test. I try to make humor out of it, but it's real.
Yeah.
And you have your, sleep partners with you. That pause in breathing often leads to heart attacks. So when you hear people say, oh, you know, they died in their sleep, 9 times out of 10, it was a sleep apnea related event. So, you know, sleep apnea is real, and it's so overlooked. And especially for the truckers in the truck drivers in the industry, you know, they're by themselves a lot of times. You know, they don't even realize that they're snoring. Some other symptoms of sleep apnea could be just nausea in the morning. Some people wake up nauseous just from the lower oxygen levels throughout the night. Morning headaches are common. Excessive daytime sleepiness is the number one indicator indicator of sleep apnea when drivers go to their medical examiners. Those are key words that your medical examiner will look for. Excessive daytime sleepiness. That is the number one indicator of sleep apnea for drivers. In addition to, I know, like I say, menopause. However, the loss of sex drive and impotence and erectile dysfunction is often a result of sleep apnea at night. So that, you know, it just is a domino effect. Sleep apnea is real, and it's often overlooked. And you know, I guess, you know, just with and everything, this is a great example of how we can help people definitely consciously recognize if they're having problems at night sleeping.
You said something so profound that you said that sleep apnea is the number one cause that people die in their sleep. And a lot of people are thinking that they're having natural causes, heart attacks,
Absolutely.
you know, things like that are happening in their sleep. And it's just something so simple that could be
1,000%.
corrected.
Yeah.
And it's so disheartening because, you know, the truck drivers, again, they're by themselves. There is no one there to say, oh my God, you is really tearing the house down right now, which, you know, and you're not breathing, right? And this is serious. And we make fun of it, we make light of these things, but it's very, very serious.
It's real.
So we have a lot of drivers that are fatigued. You know, they are having headaches.
Right.
They are having double vision, different things going on, and they're not correlating that with sleep apnea. So this is a significant concern in the trucking industry. This has also been put on as one of the notches that they have to tick off for their DOT med card. And a lot of drivers are not aware of that, right? That they have to undergo a sleep test if they are showing signs of sleep apnea. So again, you touched a little bit on untreated sleep apnea, but how does that really affect a driver's ability to perform?
Right. So just to circle back a little bit to what you said, and then which will lead into this question. So when they go to their medical examiners, it's the medical examiner who has to determine whether or not they should get subsequent sleep apnea treatment, right? So again, a lot of times people don't know. They don't even know to bring this to the attention of their medical examiners. So when the medical examiners have a list of things they have to go through, sleep apnea is almost like an optional thing, right? So unless there's a reason to think that this driver has sleep apnea, they don't ordinarily go see sleep specialists. So I think there's an opportunity to really kind of close that gap and to provide a more productive way to kind of get the drivers to get sleep apnea tests. So in reference to like what you said, other type of please forgive me, other type of symptoms, was it that help drivers indicate that they have sleep apnea, is because it's a domino effect. When they present to medical examiner, they will present as someone with high blood pressure or obesity or diabetes, or a history of a stroke, or mild myocardial infarctions. However, mild heart attacks. But that is the secondary effect of sleep apnea. So I feel like we all need to kind of take a step back and just make sleep apnea screening mandatory. Just like drug screenings are mandatory, sleep apnea testing should be mandatory, because it could lead to so many other side effects. And the sooner we could get it done, we could be more proactive, as opposed to just a punitive. it seems more of a consequential type of thing. So people are reluctant to say they have problems with sleep. There's still sleep shame among society and corporations and professionals. We got to kind of get out of that and understand this is real. Sleep and rest is a real, not human. Every organism on earth needs to rest, right? So let's just identify the need for proper sleep and rest. All right, so your drivers aren't getting that because of the imposed schedules, right? So let's help them. Let's get everybody a mandatory sleep apnea test because they are at some point and they're like probably going to have sleep apnea, whether it's from stress, the driving, the inconsistent schedules, the chronic insomnia. Like the job imposes the potential for sleep at a high rate. So let's just be proactive and just implement it. Every 6 months, they have to get a sleep apnea test, right? So I think, we could definitely, do better in testing our drivers for sleep apnea and getting them to understand these symptoms that, that's common in drivers. I know I'm rambling. Please stop me at any time.
That's okay.
I'm sorry.
Because you're really saying some things that are very important because we live in a society, and I'm from New York City, and the city that never sleeps, right?
For sure.
So, and then that comes in with, when you're an entrepreneur, you have to put in long days, long hours, and all that stuff like that. And if you're not doing that, you're not doing your business, right? So have owner operators that are in the same predicament. They also have people who run their fleets and their drivers and all that stuff. I'm not on that side, so I may be using the wrong terminology, but we do have some truck drivers on right now. But the schedules are really insane. Like the way that they go from point A to point B and they're pushed to continue to go is not conducive for a healthy environment. And sleep is usually like not even talked about.
Exactly. It's a liability. That's why it's not spoken about. And it's easy for the industries to put that responsibility on the drivers. It's punitive, like they're penalized. Like you're jeopardizing their welfare because they have crazy sleep schedules and they can't sleep. That's not fair. I think we can do better. Just make it mandatory. Don't make it as if this happens and then you're going to wait till it happens and nobody says anything. And then chronic insomnia and daytime sleepiness is just a regular day at work. No, it doesn't have to be that way. So let's just impose every, driver gets like standard sleep apnea test every 6 months, whatever the rules need to be. But it's so easy to implement. Send them to us. You don't even have to. And that's another thing. When are they supposed to get these sleep apnea tests? They're on the road all the time. Who has, and the last thing you want to do is go get a sleep apnea test on your day off, right? We can do better, right? We can send them sleep tests to their homes. So when they are home, they can do their sleep apnea tests. We can, telemedicine, technology allows us to do it virtually. We can definitely give them the results. We can have our sleep physicians interpret their results at home. We can send them, whatever it is, and then whatever course of treatment thereafter, we could also provide further supportive care. But this is a problem that doesn't need to be a problem. We can definitely solve this.
Absolutely. We got a question from Miss Donna.
Good evening,
Hi,
Donna.
ladies.
How are you?
I'm wonderful. Great information and is absolutely true. I'm a professional driver myself,
Oh, great.
and um, I never thought about what you're saying. And I'm thinking about all the other drivers that I know. I don't know if I have sleep apnea. I was trying to figure out, well, how do you know? I'm gonna hit you up about one of those tests. But what my question was in regards to the hypnotic effect the road has on you. I
Ooh,
I don't um I don't consider myself a super driver, meaning that I am going to take my 10 hours of rest. I am not cheating my clock. I don't play with my clock. When I'm I rest when I'm supposed to rest. Um but it's very hard. I think we're all as drivers plagued by insomnia. It's very hard to go to sleep.
well, yeah, I'm sure.
And so I do find that um, you're a little hypnotized on the road. Is that uh does that have any correlation to sleep apnea?
The manner in which, like, just driving night by night throughout the night,
No, not just night, during the day, just
or even.
driving. Yeah, after I only drive for 2 to 3 hours before I take even a 10-minute break, because I do find that the road becomes a little hypnotic.
Mhm.
So and this is daylight,
Yeah,
day or night, but I drive mostly a day.
yeah,
Um, so I was just wanted to find out if there a correlation between, that and sleep apnea.
absolutely. There's a correlation in the sense of, not necessarily, I wouldn't necessarily say sleep apnea, definitively. However, the fact that you even use the word hypnotic when you drive is a clear indication that you're sleep deprived. Most people who, and I trust me, hours and hours and hours, and I know the consistency of just looking at, a road, how that in itself, but maybe most people would daydream, or but you specifically said hypnotic, which is a sleep term, sometimes used when people are sleep deprived or could
Wow.
use a little bit more rest. So
Okay.
that's again, I can't necessarily say sleep apnea, but for sure, I do believe you are suffering from a little bit of sleep deprivation.
Mhm.
Definitely. Thank you.
Yeah, for sure.
So on that topic of sleep deprivation, um, yeah, again, when we talk about, being entrepreneurs and we're breaking up those hours and trying to get things done, um, I heard that there is like a sleep bank that we have to try to recuperate from. And the more that we neglect sleep, the harder it is to make up that bank. Could you explain that a little bit?
So when people refer to that sleep bank, that's called sleep deprivation or sleep inertia. So I'm sorry, that's called sleep inertia. What happens is there's two types of sleep, and this is another thing that I think isn't often spoken about. There's two types of sleep. There's your circadian sleep, which revolves around the sun, and that's the sleep for your body. But then there's REM sleep, that we call it process S sleep, which is the buildup of adenosine. So that's your mind rest.
Mhm.
So there's a body rest and there's a mind rest. So that sleep inertia, that sleep that they want you to make up, is for your mind. When that adenosine builds up, so when you've been working, you're on the road and you're driving and you're thinking, that's another thing. People don't talk about how depriving it is to just drive. Like, I know it seems so, but I know personally it is a mental strain to just drive all the time. So mentally, when your mind is constantly working, 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 when anyone uses ATP, the breakdown is adenosine. So when you're using your mind, it creates adenosine. Anytime you think, you work out, you do anything that requires a lot of energy, the breakdown of ATP is called adenosine. That adenosine builds up. The only time you can release that adenosine is during REM sleep. So if you're not going into REM sleep because you're driving or have crazy hours or chronic insomnia, then that is what they say that you can make up. And that sounds great, and you can. It's called a sleep inertia. So
Mhm.
when you might be driving, but you're off tomorrow and you can sleep for 14 hours and you're looking forward to it, that's that makeup of sleep, and that's fine. Some people can do that. However, the people who can't are when it develops into greater and larger health issues. So it is possible to make up sleep per se, but when they say that, it's that mind rest, that buildup of adenosine, to just release that so you can have that rested, restorative, go back to driving type of feeling. So yes, you can make it up.
I had no idea you could make up sleep. Absolutely did not know.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. So
So
with
you
that being
can, if you can. Everyone, some people say they can't because for some reason, because of their driving schedule, because they have sleep deprivation, because they have sleep apnea. That is one of the main things. If you're not sleeping, you're definitely not resting, right? So it's both. It can't just be one or the other. It's a balance. It's a balance of both. You've got to let your body and your mind rest.
Absolutely. So with that being said, so you're saying that as we sleep, ATP is broken down, right? And for people who are not in the medical field, that is our energy source, right? So which means that if we are not getting that energy broken down, or all those old cells and all those things while we're sleeping and rapid eye movement, we're
Exactly.
not able to form our functions,
Absolutely.
right? So what about people who take melatonin?
Mhm.
Does our body naturally produce that while we're sleeping?
We do. Yeah, we do. And that's the circadian aspect of it. That's what
Mhm.
allows us to kind of get sleepy, when the sun goes down.
Mhm.
It's the increase. So it's almost like opposite. So like when the sun goes down, the melatonin goes up. And the melatonin is what makes us sleepy. But when you're driving on the road and the sun is down, your melatonin's up and you're sleepy, but you got to be up to drive. There's a little bit of a disparity in your body and your clockwork. And so it's important. It's not impossible. It's not like people are going to stop working night shifts. It's just you have to train just like anything else. You train your mind and your body to rest at a particular time to establish a consistent sleep schedule. And that's where we usually start with people. Establish a consistent sleep schedule so your mind and your body know when it can rest. Okay, that's fine. I can only rest it between 3 p.m. and 10 p.m. whatever that looks like. But consistency is the key, and establishing a sleep habit.
So what we're talking about right now is very heavy.
It's a lot. I'm sorry. Totally.
No. This is good because when we are going to different corporations and we're talking about change in healthcare for supply chain industries or any industry right now that, because you serve a lot of different industries and individuals, right?
Absolutely.
And we primarily serve the supply chain, logistics and warehousing, right? Where there's a lot of shift work. So with that being said, the information is very, very heavy. How can we take that same information that we know, because we're healthcare professionals, right, and break that down to those managers, those supervisors, those directors, and say, listen, this is a critical situation. You have a lot of shift workers, you have drivers, you have all these different things going on, different environments that affect your sleep. How can we take that information and, as a consultant, bring that to the corporate space and say, hey, this is how we make changes? How do we do that?
Just like that, send you in and you say all of that. It has to start somewhere. There's no protocol, there's no structure on how to implement this. Personally, the current measures aren't working, right? So it is important for us to be proactive as a Prosomnia Sleep and Natasha Jones. We go in there and say it just like that. So we have to start somewhere. We start with our manager, start with our supervisor, start with any industry at this point. Because I think once we can identify and get people to realize the magnitude of the importance of having proper sleep and rest and the ability to get help for people with sleep apnea instead of penalizing them, let's just provide it. It encompasses every aspect. It is a domino effect. So, and it's super easy to implement. There's so many specialists out there. It just, I think just like that.
Okay. So because I've been in this industry, just like that, like that, right? So, in layman's terms, right? What is it that Prosomnia Sleep can give to this industry?
So how I anticipate Prosomnia Sleep helping this industry is becoming one of the key organizations that are available to provide home sleep tests. Like we can send them out. They don't have to come see me. We will do the whole virtual thing just like this. We will send them the home sleep test. We can interpret their test results when they are able to give us their test results. The corporations can even say, you have 5-7 days you're off of work 5 to 7 days to get your home sleep test done. Okay, we will then, these are your interpretation results. This is what we see. There's no I'm not sure if I have sleep apnea. I will let you know if you have sleep apnea or not, because you're going to tell me based on your 5 to 7 day home sleep test. Once we get your interpretation results, if you have an issue, we're not going to ask you to not work. We're going to provide you a solution. We're going to provide something that is feasible for you while you're on the road, that you can use, that's compliant, that everyone agrees, and that will help you get some rest. Because ultimately, if we
That's
can,
amazing.
I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought I was on mute. It's amazing.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, look, if we take care, if we make our drivers safe, the roads will be safe. We have to make them healthy and happy and whole. And to get that, they've got to get some rest. Period.
Oh, definitely. Trust me, I believe. Now, how do you, um, let's say you're partnered with a company, and what are some of the things that these drivers can institute on the road to help themselves um, create a better sleep habit?
I definitely would encourage a consistent sleep schedule, right? Most people, I know the driving schedules are odd, but I do know there's some consistency in there. So establish a consistent, inconsistent schedule, if that makes sense, right? Even
Mhm.
on the days that you're off, establish some consistency. It's a habit. You just have to implement, when, like you said, Natasha, going to New York, the city doesn't sleep, that's fine, but we're just going to have to be a little bit more conscious about the importance of resting. Like we sacrifice our rest when other things and priorities come into play in our life. Our rest and sleep is a priority. That's not a negotiable item, right? We've got to recognize that. So on the road, we can get consistent sleep. We can help our drivers get consistent sleep. We know what their schedules are like before we make them, right? So look, all right, these are the times we can come in. These are the times you can rest. A great sleep environment. I know sometimes you may have to stop at the hotel. Some can sleep in their cabins. Whatever the case may be, whatever that looks like for that driver, we've got to help them decide how they can get proper rest. It's one thing to be off and stop driving, but a lot of times just because you stop driving doesn't mean you're going to sleep. That's not, some of those places aren't the most comfortable areas. We've got to acknowledge that and be proactive about where we're allowing our drivers to rest and when. And so that would be the number one thing for our drivers who are diagnosed with sleep apnea. I'm reluctant to say this, but the reality of it is a CPAP machine on the road is not practical. That is not a practical solution to
That's not.
provide a sleep solution for our drivers. There are non-mechanical oral airways that we could use to help them on the road. Pack and go. You throw them in your bag. It's not even, they pop it in while they're sleeping, wherever they're sleeping. That's a
Interesting.
lot more practical than the devices. There's not always electricity available. You got to keep your cabin on. You got to keep the motor running. Like there's a lot that goes into, but that is our current standards and guidelines for if one of the drivers is diagnosed with sleep apnea, you can continue to drive and you can be approved if you can prove that you use your CPAP machine for at least 4 hours every single night. Really?
Yeah. So, with that being said, does your services cover insurance?
Some of the services. So for the devices, so the home sleep test, and this is another great area where the corporations get involved. Some of the home sleep, yes. Home sleep test, yes. No, it is completely independent of the insurance providers. The home sleep test being sent out is kind of new. Some insurance companies haven't become on board completely with that. But again, something we can definitely push and facilitate and mandate.
Awesome. We have a question from Nicole.
It's a question and comment. And one of Natasha, you did kind of ask about the insurance aspect of it. I love the recommendation when you started off saying that it would be great if it was required that every driver had a sleep study test. I actually almost agree with that. Is that something you proposed in the past to the FMCSA or anything along that line?
I can't honestly say I have, because of the guidelines. we would only be referred to by a medical examiner. And they would have to have a reason. So we're more of a specialist. We do work, we definitely take referrals from the local medical examiners, and actually nationwide, we could take them, from anyone. It's just because it's not one of the main areas that's looked at during the medical qualification exam. We're kind of just secondary.
So basically, you're saying that we have to make sure that the employers are on board with these screenings, these mandatory screenings for sleep apnea. Is there any other sleep disorders besides sleep apnea? I know that's really the most popular one, but is there anything else that, we should be looking out for?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. So, and this is the importance of having a dedicated sleep organization involved in this process, because there are sleep, some people, and these are our clients for prosomnia sleep sessions. Ironically, it depends on the type of sleep apnea that they have, but we try to get their sleep apnea under control before we allow them to have a prosomnia sleep session, because it's the use of an anesthetic, and that's not an ideal situation. So prosomnia sleep sessions are more for people with REM sleep disorders. Some people don't even realize they have REM sleep disorders. REM sleep deprivation, even if it's a situation where, like I said, just because you stop driving doesn't mean you automatically go lay down and go to sleep, right? You're still REM sleep deprived. So if you're if you're an ideal candidate, for us to have a person, we can definitely offer those services. Like I said, the sleep apnea right now, for the driving industry, it's just obstructive sleep apnea. But there is a central sleep apnea that people have. So, and there's positional sleep apnea. So there are other sleep apneas that people have. However, this is another opportunity for us to be preventative and help them throughout that process. So it's definitely a huge benefit to identify other issues in other areas that we could start being proactive and helping the drivers with now instead of later.
This is some great information. I'm really excited for your company.
Thank you.
I don't know anyone else is doing this, honestly.
We're the only.
It's so needed. Yeah. It's so needed in our
Thank you.
in our industry. I think you should take a tour of a cab, and you would be so surprised.
Yeah.
Because yes, it's the original tiny home. Everything it has everything in it at thousands of outlets.
I love it.
Your kitchenette, everything. So I know you made a comment that it might be a little bit cumbersome for the machine on the road. Absolutely not, because I've seen my cousin sleep apnea machine, and it's very small, and those guys have 50-inch televisions in their cab. So yeah, they can accommodate it.
Excellent. That's a very good point. I'm glad you said that, because again, with technology as we advance, the CPAP machines are getting smaller, and I should say KPAPs or APAPs, like they're getting smaller and smaller, and much more practical to use. So we have more options.
Yes.
And it's important for us to explore those options. Maybe someone doesn't have it to the extent to where they need a whole machine. However, if it's not treated, they will later on down the road. So there's plenty of opportunity for us to allow, our drivers to get real sleep on the road.
Yes, they can fit. Every stop they get to, they're playing video games. They can get us. They can fit a CPAP machine.
Okay, good. Excellent. I have no excuses now. See,
none.
Okay, Donna, I'm gonna tell John Shepard said.
And will your home tests be able to detect if they need a BiPAP?
Yes, absolutely. So when there's so many levels of how the interpretations go. There's a lot of metrics that are used to determine whether it's mild, moderate, severe type of obstructive sleep apnea, or do you just go hypoapneic, like what is actually occurring? How long are you going without oxygen? So there's so many parameters that could be identified with a home sleep test. And it's so easy to implement. We send them straight to their house.
Awesome. So for those who are on a CPAP is continuous positive airway pressure, and then the BiPAP is bi-level. So it alternates between different pressures. And what she's basically saying is that some people have severe, some people have moderate, and not as what is it? The first level?
The just mild.
Mild. So it'll be dependent upon the
Right.
home test that you guys do. I have a question from Lada, and she asked, "How often is a sleep study recommended?"
So when are you talking about prosomnia sleep session?
Yep. So you're setting the stage for all of this.
Okay. All right. Well, so it depends. Everyone who calls us for gets a consultation. When we identify the type of sleep disparity that you have, that will be based on the type of therapy and how many times you come. So it's a therapy. This is not a one and done. You have to commit to at least 4 sessions. Again, the severity of your REM sleep disorder is going to determine how often you come. You can come once a week. You can come once a month. You can come once every 3 months. So based on that, we'll develop a personalized sleep plan for you. And that will determine how often you come in for your sleep session.
Okay. So you are located in Florida.
In Aventura, Florida, which is North Miami. Yeah.
Okay. So for someone like me who's in Georgia, how do we access your services outside of the home test?
So outside of the home test, if you wanted to come down for a prosomnia sleep session, we would definitely get you our weekend package, which you'll fly down. We'll provide all the accommodations for you at a local hotel to where you can then come down for prosomnia sleep therapy. And based on however long you want to stay and hang out in Miami, because you're going to be wide awake. It's not like you're going to be sleepy or gone. And that's fine too. We want to allow you the opportunity to rest. But because of the fact that we're giving you REM sleep, rested restorative sleep, you're going to want to go hang out in Miami. So, but we help you navigate through all that. And then, like I said, based on your personalized sleep plan, will determine your length of sessions.
That's awesome. So we have covered a lot of information, and I have one last question, and then Miss Donna can go after that. With all of the things, sessions are in person only. So you missed some of that, Lotta. She has home tests that are being able to be sent out to wherever you are. However, she is a specialist, so she needs recommendation from primary care or, on your employer, whoever it is.
Not necessarily.
No?
Okay. Because of sleep, ironically, it's not as heavily mandated and that's why it's completely up to the insurance companies.
Okay.
If they wanted to get, however, to make it easy for everyone, we provide a super bill, basically an itemized, statement of this, what we have diagnosed you with or what we believe you have and your level of sleep apnea or not. And then you can take that information and send it to your insurance company for reimbursement.
Interesting. Okay.
And so in addition to, like I said, the prosomnia sleep sessions do have to be in our clinic in Aventura. However, for the home sleep tests, we can send those out. That can be anywhere in the country. In addition to if you get one of our home sleep tests and we do determine that you need some sort of sleep apnea device, we can also help you access some sort of device virtually or locally. So it's not a one and done. We can definitely help everyone throughout the process.
That's awesome. So as a CEO of HD Screening and Laboratory, where we have corporate wellness programs and we are pushing these initiatives and different corporations, in addition to me being the director of mental health and wellness at AUTA, how do you see the sleep apnea regulations evolving, and what should companies do to stay ahead of future compliance changes for that? Because as mentioned earlier, DOT, I'm sorry, I'm just going to mute. DOT currently only set you up with sleep studies if you show signs and symptoms for that during your medical card. So how do we be proactive instead of reactive in what we're trying to bring to these corporations, and also the federal government, because it's the FMCSA.
Absolutely. And that's it. One or two things going to happen. Either we're going to come together and find a practical solution for everyone, or the gap is going to get greater. So, what's going to have to happen? I do believe as we evolve, it's going to have to be mandated. That's the only other way I see that we can identify this, because if not, you're putting a lot of responsibilities on the driver. You're affecting their welfare, their well-being, their health, their safety, the road safety, and you're putting a lot of responsibility on the medical examiners. You're asking them to prevent them from doing their livelihood because they can't rest. We're going to have to do better. Like it shouldn't be so they're disqualified. It's just like a drug alcohol program, right? At work. If it's very similar. Let's just establish it. Like there's a drug and alcohol problem. Let's get them help. We have the resources available. We can get them help right now.
Absolutely. I think that's great information. Ms. Donna, did you want to ask a question?
Once someone is, by the way, I'm beaming with joy. This is such great information, and that's the beauty of being a part of AUTA, is these partnerships that bring so much value to us as drivers, But my question is, once, let's say you've been diagnosed with sleep apnea, are you chained to that machine for the rest of your life? Is this a condition that can improve later on down the line, or are you just chained to the machine forever?
It
Thank
depends.
you so much.
It definitely depends on that individual. It depends on the severity. And I'll be completely honest with you. A lot of sleep apnea is due to obstructive sleep apnea is due to weight gain. It's simply weight. It's a weight-related issue, period. Obstructive sleep apnea is usually a weight-related issue. The minute people lose weight, they will stop snoring, because your airway, all this, just like your whole body gains weight, your airway gains weight. You get fat in like all this gets fat. If you can't do this, then your neck circumference that's what you guys use. That's a number one indicator, and which is going to start to be mandated as well. So your neck circumference, you're automatically, your BMI is over 30, weight. Your neck circumference is larger, weight, right? So because of the weight, there's going to be mandated sleep apnea tests. Fine, whatever the case may be. But if you don't want to be, one of the things that we can start doing is, let's start being more proactive about nutrition. You see how sleep evolves into health and nutrition, right? So it's just a domino effect. We just, so it's up to you. It depends on, some people, small mouth opening, that's another indicator of obstructive sleep apnea. You really can't do anything about that, right? Small nasal airway, something like, those aren't things that you can really do anything about. But the things that you can control, I think we can definitely start there.
Awesome. I feel attacked because I think I snore at night, and I might have a little weight gain in the neck, but we gonna handle that.
It is what it is, right? Like, trust me. What is it now? What's it, like 70-80% of America? Like, it's definitely relative. Definitely relative.
Right. And that's not getting no sleep. So sleep also can cause weight gain.
Absolutely. You see, like it's a vicious cycle.
Yeah.
Right. All your hormones are off. Your ghrelin is off. Your leptin is off. Especially when you're supposed to be sleeping. You're up at night driving. Like all that's off. And you're supposed to be sleeping. So of course you're going to stop and get a Slurpee. Duh. Who doesn't? So it's just part of it.
Absolutely. So you have some goodies for the community.
I do. I'm super excited. I don't want you, there's a lot of information. It's super heavy. I want to start now. I want to get involved. I want people to have right now resources they can start implementing. Like I said, even if it's something as simple as just try to sit, maybe it's a positional sleep apnea, which sometimes helps with heavier people, sit elevated. Sleep elevated with your head above your heart, maybe a pillow or two, not necessarily flat on your back, because remember, when you're flat on your back, that weight presses your lungs down. So it's harder. So your diaphragm, that's more, that's why a lot of heavier people have barrel chests, because when they sleep at night, they need so much energy just to lift that weight so they can breathe. Right? That's why sleep apnea is an issue sometimes. So maybe consider different positions. Sleep, elevated with your head above your heart. Maybe if you're a side sleeper, same thing. A little bit, put a pillow on your side. Women with large breasts, same thing. Probably a little bit of support at night, just so it's not so much weight on your lungs and your diaphragm. So I wanted to provide some resources for everybody. I'll put them in the chat, a link. Feel free to reach out to us, definitely prosomniasleep.com. I love sleep. I'm crazy about it. I love it. I'm the only person I know that gets crazy about sleep, but I love it because it's so important. It affects everybody's life. I'm also going to give you our virtual my virtual e-card. Please feel free, again, reach out. I will always, help however I can. Any resources we have, there's the link in the chat. And this is also my virtual e-card. So again, please feel free. We're on all socials. Please like and share, YouTube, everything. And that's our menopause.
I really love this session. By the way, I had to look around. And Natasha, did you tell her I was at the Wawa getting a Slurpee right now
I
as we
did
speak in
not.
my car?
Love it. Okay, 7-Eleven.
Oh my
I
goodness.
see your book back there, Why We Don't Sleep.
Oh yes, absolutely. Thank you so much. So I just wrote our ebook, and that I actually included a free version for you and those resources as well. So I wrote a book just to really explain why we don't sleep, and more so from a biological perspective. Like I said, what's actually going on in our brains, like when we stop breathing at night. So what is the cause of erectile dysfunction when we stop breathing? Why when we have we're menopause, we all of a sudden have a problem sleeping. What's going on with our hormones? So even geriatric, our silver sleepers, why do they tend to go to sleep earlier and stay awake later at night? So this book kind of really goes into the biology of why that happens. It's one thing to say you have sleep apnea, but why do I have sleep apnea? What's going on in my brain? What's happening? When I'm up, like I said, why am I eating so much? So all those things and how they're related to our sleep. So, and in addition to, we are offering 50% off the home sleep test. Like I said, it is independent of, it's totally dependent on your insurance company as to whether or not they will cover it. So we just, ask you to pay for it up front. So it's $250, but with the sleep code #DOT, we are providing 50% off your home sleep test. And we will give you, like I said, that itemized bill that you can send into your insurance company and hopefully get reimbursed.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So I'm so thankful for you coming on tonight, providing your expertise. You have such a very unique niche, and this needs to be national information. I know that there are some people talking about sleep, but they're not correlating it to the workforce, and this is huge.
Great. Happy to hear that.
Yes. Where can we find you?
Absolutely. Prosomniasleep.com right here. Any questions you may have, all of our publications, any information that we could provide for you, I tried to make sure it was on our website. We are a novel service, but we are comprehensive. And that is definitely my objective, is to get everyone sleeps, but not everybody rests. And so that's definitely our objective at Prosomnia Sleep Health and Wellness.
Awesome. Do we have any last questions for Ms. Nairi?
Thank you so much for this amazing information.
Absolutely,
Love it.
yes. And again, happy National Sleep Founder Drowsy Driving Prevention Week. It is November 3rd to the 9th. So please be very, very aware and cautious of being sleepy when you're driving, because it's real, and you are. So take your time that you're granted.
Awesome. Thank you guys for coming out tonight. And I appreciate you again, Nairi.
Yes.
I would love to have you on, for another webinar for more information. Everyone, thank you.
Natasha, thank